in a tube. Nova Mental 7 Light. Mental 7 Light. Welcome to the Flybubble Paragliding channel.
We are free flight experts and equipment specialists helping you get the best flying experience.
So welcome to this first impressions mini review of the new Nova Mental 7 Light. The new lightweight high B wing from Nova, which has been talked about quite a lot for several months now. Let's go fly. Very interesting rises. Starting with the A's, we've got the A riser with some little magnets inside holding those together, and then onto the B's, and there's already part of the BC connection system. On the A riser we've got Ronstan 20mm Ronstan pulleys, which are very nice ball bearing pulleys on the top and bottom. Excellent, with a nice thick speed system cord, which is really nice and tight up to the top. Looking onto the BC system, I think this is different to other ones that I've seen. So the BC system actually goes from the C's through the B's to the A's. There's another pulley there, another 20mm Ronstan pulley, and then there's a pulley that's kind of built into the B riser there that the Dyneema, I think these are Dyneema lines, go in and out through. When we pull on those, you can see how that works. Feels very good on the ground. I'm looking forward to testing it in the air. Red for port, port and starboard, green, very fancy plush
Very
carbon
nice
bar.
Yes.
Look at that. It's like a Michelin star bar or something. And it's adjustable. You can change the height of it. Those kind of magnets, as first seen on BGD gliders. Well, I first saw them there, and they just pop on, and then if you pull them, they sort of stay on better than most magnets, and you can pull them off like so. First test. It's a bit of breeze, so I can use the rear risers and the brakes to hold the glider down, and that works nicely. There's nothing connecting the BC system or the rear riser to the tip, so that actually works very well. So here you can see this line here. This is the 2.5 line part of it. There's the A lines and the B lines, and then what we've got here is this line, which actually seems to be attached to the A riser, but isn't an A riser at all. It's going out here.
And going right. I'll follow it up
to there, and you can see how, because of that, when I'm holding it down the wall, it's pulling. See the tension on it?
Yeah. If you look at the tips there, you can see where the central line stops and then goes off to the tips without that central middle line.
What's happening is those lines along the centre B lines and this 2.5 liner that goes to the outer C, they're pulling some tension on there. So I'm finding that as I hold on the leading edge there, it's still pulling tension, whereas normally I'd hold the glider down and there wouldn't be tension on those lines, and that just means I just need to hold the glider down a bit more.
The sail looks lovely and clean from the underside. I like the colours too. This is the red one. White on the trailing edge. Not so good for UK conditions. And I'll have a look at the top surface. Checking that. Very nice. Very clean.
Feels and looks very solid on the leading edge. Now we can see a really good shot through the glider with the light. See the internal construction. Okay, so now I'm going to try testing the stall point. only on the ground, but that's a lot less physical than a lot of B3s are. B3s are quite often very stiff. Those are quite easy to pull. And a full frontal. Just a small one.
Yep. Very useful skill to be able to turn your glider when it goes upside down around.
Get some exercise now running around after me. Let's talk about the lines and the risers. And first thing you notice here is that there is no split A riser. There is the red lines. Those are the 3 A lines. So it's got 3 A lines, and there's no split A. So the line you'd use for big ear is this one, standard classic big ears. And then what looks like the split ear riser, that line there, is actually the B3 line there, which goes to the B3s, goes to the outer Cs. And that's what makes this glider a 2.5 liner, as Nova call it, rather than a 2 liner or a 3 liner. So it'd almost be a 2 liner if you didn't have that line, then it would be. But it's got that extra line goes across, and you see it's quite interesting how the line goes through here and actually crosses with the rear lines here, the B lines. She sort of slightly crosses across them, and also you'll notice that the B riser is significantly longer, good several centimeters longer than the A's or the C's, so that's quite interesting. So I just finished a little cross-country flight on the Nova Mentor 7 Lite. So I just had my first proper flight on it in good thermic conditions. Actually, the glider feels very solid and collapse resistant. It does have quite an interesting feel about it. It's got kind of a different feel to perhaps just about any other glider I've flown before. It does have quite a 2-liner feel about it, and feels very collapse resistant, as I say, and it has that kind of solid, powerful feeling that 2-liners have a bit. It does mean that from a feedback point of view, I think it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. I mean, today it was so strong, it was pretty obvious where the lift was. Speed bar was very usable and solid, very light, very light, the speed bar. Impressed with that, and feels very effective. I'm not measuring exactly the speed, but it feels like it pulls a very good amount of speed for a high B glider. Handling is quite firm, so it's definitely not light brakes, they're quite firm. The workable travel is relatively short. I found just in the thermaling I was flying around, and quite firm brakes. Yeah, definitely not light, a little bit on the firm to heavier side, but very direct feeling. So some pilots are going to really like that. A much firmer, much more direct feeling than its predecessor, the Mentor 6, which I think felt a lot softer and a bit more vague. This feels very solid and direct. This feels to me like a completely different glider, totally unrelated to its predecessor. I can see why Nova say about the big ears they prefer to use the B3s, which work really well, but the big ears are a bit flappy and not particularly stable. When I did them, I only did them once. On this glider they're actually quite light to pull in, sort of not heavy, and very easy to hold and very effective. So that's a very useful feature of this glider, the B3s. First impressions is the glider's moderately agile. It's not particularly agile, but you can turn it perfectly well enough. I mean, I had some quite punchy corners to turn around, and I could make the glider and get it to turn around. More agile than its predecessor, with more energy and more turnability. Cuts through the air and just bites into the thermals, so it's very good from that. It's very functional, very efficient. Well, yeah, the sink rate and the climb seem very good. I can't comment yet if it's exceptionally good or exactly, but it's certainly good. Certainly seemed to climb well. It's going to take me a little time to get used to this glider because it has got quite a different feel about it. Even on the ground, immediately building the wall, I could feel the difference with the 2.5 liner Concept. That difference of the line layout is giving the glider a different feel to it. It probably is, of all the 3-liner gliders, that's not a full 2-liner, 2.5 liners, it probably has got some of the most feeling like a 2-liner, that sort of very taut leading edge and sort of powerful feel to the leading edge. So the BC system feels very efficient. It's very light, so that's great. It feels very usable and light, better than most BC systems that I've felt so far. Remember, this is my first impressions. Yeah.